You know, it's funny. The Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer text line, in the previous segment, I was still kind of paged down to like 20 minutes ago. I was kind of keeping a couple good texts on the screen that I was about to read. And then in runs John Lopez with breaking news. And during the break, I paged back to the top of the text page. About 9 minutes ago, everybody's screaming at me to go look at Twitter. 9 minutes ago, Sean, trade, Kenyon Green, all caps, look at Twitter. Oh, my God, they got something for him. I'll be honest with you. I told John this during the break, Seth. If you missed it, Kenyon Green was just traded to the Eagles for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and in the process, the two teams flip-flop 5th and 6th round picks next year. So the Texans get C.J. Gardner-Johnson, very productive safety, and a 6th next year for Kenyon Green in a 5th. When John Lopez came in and told me breaking news and the first two words out of his mouth were Kenyon Green,
yeah.
If I had hit pause on John right there and said, okay, what's he about to say, I would have guessed Kenyon Green getting cut. I would not have guessed getting an actual functional asset for Kenyon Green.
For C.J. Gardner-Johnson has 2 years remaining on his contract for $19 million in total.
Okay.
And that's good. That's A-okay by me. Bringing a guy that's much more swarm than Kenyon Green was. And for anybody that's been, arguing, hey, Laramie was well-liked by his teammates. Not as many as there used to be.
Yeah.
That's great that they liked him. Laramie was a bad influence on that offensive line room. It was a bad example to set, a guy that only half cared about half of the game of football and played with zero physicality. They've gotten rid of Shaq. They've gotten rid of 60% of last year's starting offensive line at the beginning of the season.
Yep.
And Nick during the season, was diplomatic and tried not to point fingers at, said the offensive line. At one point he said it was a false narrative that the offensive line was struggling. Well, 3 of the 5 guys are gone now.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a pretty good indication that the
only one they dumped to the side of the road like a recyclable. You know what I mean? Like you recouped good draft capital for Laramie Tunsil and cap space. You send Kenyon Green out, and look, the overall draft pick of Kenyon Green should be viewed as a failure. He was the 15th pick in the draft. You never got good play out of him. You got a lot of bad play out of him. He missed a whole year rehabbing injuries. It just never turned into anything. And especially when you look at the opportunity cost of you were 13th in the draft that year. You moved back to 15th because you felt good about Jordan Davis, who we just talked about.
Yeah.
That trade was made with the Eagles, by the way, the one where they wound up with Kenyon Green. The Eagles moved up from 15 to 13. You could add Jordan Davis. You could add Kyle Hamilton. You end up with Kenyon Green. That part's bad. So you recoup whatever you can, man. And the fact that they turned Kenyon Green, I don't care about the pick swap. The fact that they turned the last year of Kenyon Green into a couple years of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who, by the way, on Pro Football Focus, was the 13th rated safety last year out of over 100 safeties. He's a good football player.
That secondary with Kalen Bullock coming along the way he has, man, that's good stuff, man. That's really good stuff.
Yes.
And we saw, as good as the defense was last year, there were too many times in critical moments in the fourth quarter where they had letdowns or there were big plays allowed. The big plays were a big one. So having a veteran back there to play alongside Kalen Bullock is going to be nice. This is really cool. I guess my one, if I gotta try to find the dark cloud in all of this, if you've added another swarm type player to the defense, but then the offense, which has very few swarm type players, remains swarmless as of right now.
Well, you by definition, you've gotten more swarmy by taking negative level swarmy players out of the mix.
Yeah.
by Laramie and Kenyon and Shaq merely not being there anymore, you're by definition swarmier than you were before. Your point is well taken. There is a lot of work to do on the offensive line now.
Look, scrappy guys can get their butts kicked real hard too, the same way non-scrappy guys can.
Yeah.
So it's more than just scrappiness. You got to have actual play to go along with it.
Hey, Nick, if you're listening, don't stop here. Titus, get him out of here. Get all the non-swarmers out of here, man. Titus, see you later. I don't care what you get for him. Get a 6, get a pick swap, get something. You'll probably get more cap space by trading him out of here to go get more good players. As long as you're dismantling the offensive line, dismantle the whole thing, man. Don't half dismantle this ineffective bomb that was the offensive line.
Things got mold.
Yeah,
There's black mold on these studs.
Yes.
Now, I'm still, when it comes to the younger guys, I think one of the reasons you had to get rid of Laramie Tunsil was the influence and the example that he sets. The example that he sets in terms of, hey, this is how a pro operates.
Yeah.
Where, no, he's a pass protection specialist. He's not. He's like, as much as the people want to put up his pass protection grades, they always leave out his run blocking grades, which they're a little too generous. So it's a bad influence on guys who have potential to be blue-collar physical players like Jarrett Patterson or Juice Scruggs or Blake Fisher. We need guys that are crusty old veterans in there. If you're going to bring a guy in who might not be all pro, but he's setting a good example for those young guys on defense. Look, they've done it with Jerry Hughes, for instance.
Yeah.
Jerry Hughes, he's not been a starter for the Texans, but he's the kind of veteran you want influencing your younger guys. Danielle Hunter, Danielle Hunter's the dream. There's not a Danielle Hunter in free agency right now on the offensive line. But those are the types of guys who are really good influences on the younger guy. The offense had Laramie Tunsil.
Yes.
And it couldn't be more night and day, the difference in the way those guys operate on defense compared to the way Laramie Tunsil operates.
People are just as excited about this Kenyon Green trade as they were about the Laramie Tunsil trade.
I know, and
just because of what he read. I do too. Kenyon Green's a great dude, I'm sure, and he's from the area here, but I just symbolically what he represents, I think, is what people are feeling.
He's still young, and there's still hope for him.
Yeah.
He's got to figure out a way to stay healthy. He is going to one of the best offensive line coaches this century in Jeff Stoutland. And they had a reclamation project with Mekhi Becton. Mekhi Becton moved from tackle to guard with the Eagles and had a good season.
Remember Kenyon's dad was the one who took a swipe on social media at Chris Strausser.
Yeah,
so
the offensive line
so you
coach,
can't complain about who your kid's coach is now. He's got the best. How much cap space does this clear up? That's a text to the Jim Adler text line. Costs more if Seth's numbers are correct. 2 years, $19 million. Kenyon was set to make about $5 million this year, so they're probably using some of that cap space that they opened up with the Laramie Tunsil, or that they will open up with the Laramie Tunsil trade when the league year begins tomorrow. I'm glad they traded Kenyon Green and got a good safety. But why the Eagles? If we traded him to any other team, he's out of the league in a couple of years. Now he'll be a Hall of Famer for the Eagles.
I think realistically, you put all the issues with his play aside. Yeah, he's very, very injury prone for a bigger guy, and has been. I mean, he's been injured almost constantly since he came into the league.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be the biggest obstacle for him. I think Jeff Stoutland can probably do some good things with him, but I'm not overly worried that this is going to turn into some kind of sour grape scenario a couple of years down the line.
Nick Caserio is Michael Corleoning the entire offensive line, like the heads of the 5 families in The Godfather. That's from JV Tamales and Katie. That's great.
Look, sometimes also when you try to overthink a situation, you might be trying to figure out, like, well, this guy in a different environment, he might be okay. What this sounds like? Nope.
No.
You got a tumor in the offensive line room. You just got to lop it all out. Whatever tissue remains.
Rip it out. This ain't a chemo situation. We're ripping it out, man. People loving this trade right now. At this point, Titus Howard is gone. A lot of people, Titus is probably wondering if he's next. LOL. Kidding. Kinda. The texter says.
Titus was seemed to be very much an admirer of Laramie Tunsil and everything that came with Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah.
The whole thing about I shy away from this because, look, younger athletes are going to be different than other athletes, but Laramie Tunsil's Instagram shenanigans and his outfits and everything just screamed everything that's against your classic really good offensive lineman, and it felt like Titus was like, oh boy, that's what I got to aspire to. I got to aspire to be more influencer than actual offensive lineman. So maybe you remove the influence of Laramie Tunsil, and Titus Howard can become more of a blue collar.
Maybe it's more fun if they ship him out, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like this. I like lop it all off.
This is fun.
Lop it all off. Don't overthink. It's
the last 20 minutes of The Godfather. The texter is absolutely right now.
Yeah, you just kill everybody.
Kill everybody.
Kill everybody. Just take a Tommy gun to the hole. Everybody tell the young guys to duck.
Yeah.
And then kill everybody.
Juice, Jarrett.
Juice.
Hit the floor.
Hit the floor, Blake.
Oh my God, that is great. That is great. All right, so and things are popping. And big thank you to Nick Caserio for executing that trade during our show. That was really nice of him to do. We got the John Lopez run-in.
Got the run-in. That's my second or third run-in.
Hey, we need theme music for you when you run in here, I think. You know, like you're running down the ramp on Monday Night Raw. You hit someone with a chair. Yeah. How you guys doing?
Oh, I got a smile on my face.
I can tell before you.
Actually, I was thinking, and you may hear this, the Goodfellas scene when Eric Clapton is playing Layla.
It's one of the greatest scenes. That's one of the greatest pieces of music in history.
Yes.
Underneath one of the greatest scenes. Yeah, the bodies are all turning.
Yeah,
up.
And they got Kenyon Green hanging in a cooler.
Kenyon
frozen.
Laramie Tunsil getting flipped over inside a garbage truck.
Yes.
Like Frenchie. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's what's happening. And by the way, Titus Howard, be nervous.
Yeah. Yeah,
seriously,
you're on notice.
Be nervous.
Yeah, keep your head on a swivel. How you feeling, Reggie?
My head's swimming.
Yeah.
Like I am thinking about all these things. I hate, like we've already established this between me and you, that I have a little bit of a penchant for anxiety.
Yes.
So as much as I'm like living off of the idea that Nick Caserio is absolutely hanging his you-know-whats and just putting them on the table, right? Like I'm also like, so how do we fix this offensive line now?
Yeah, no, it's true.
wait, where is this going?
You always have to have somebody that's thinking a couple steps ahead.
So you don't feel good about Ladarius Henderson starting at left guard?
Hey, man, if that's the cost of doing business for now, so be it. Yeah. It was funny. I said to Seth like 30 minutes ago, I'm like, all right, we do need to look at this rationally here. If they were to play a game tomorrow, their offensive line is probably Fisher, Kenyon, Patterson, Juice, and Titus left to right.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know.
Ladarius Henderson and Nick Broker.
Those are the last two standing? Okay, so, oh, my God. Yeah, I said Broker, bro. When they traded Kenyon, I said it's probably Broker. Okay.
You know, bleep it. I'm deciding to lean into the fun of this.
Yes.
It's
a blast.
I am more excited about the idea prove that they are going to do whatever necessary to get this thing to where it needs to be.
Tear down, man. Yeah, it's a tear down in the O-line room.